Okay, folks, this is the least watched content in channel, but I love recommending movies and talking about movies. I used to shoot a lot of Super 8mm films back in my high school and early junior college days. Today, we are going to be reviewing a movie from 2019, the last of the golden years, pre the pandemic, directed by Robert Eggers, 109-minute runtime, The Lighthouse, and two masterful performances from Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson. I was inspired to watch and review this movie after watching all 5 Twilight films with my wife back to back to back. And I'm sorry if you're waiting for the other 4 reviews. I just didn't have it in me to talk about 5 Twilight films with standalone individual reviews and discussions. So, can I broad brush all of them? All the Twilight films, cumulatively, they're 3 out of 5. They're fun movies. This is like the spawning and development of Robert Pattinson's career. I have reviewed another movie with him that was a Safdie Brothers film. He's an amazing actor. He's not just like the guy that you see in the Twilight films. And him paired alongside master actor Dafoe in this movie. Late 19th century, the movie is based on these 2 guys that are manning a lighthouse way off the coast of New England. The movie was filmed on location in Nova Scotia, and the director, Eggers, he co-wrote the screenplay with his brother Max, and it is an art house film. It is critically acclaimed. It's got a 90% Rotten Tomato score, but it's polarizing because if this isn't a film for everybody. It is very much an artist film. The director had to fight the studio to film it in black and white to focus on the artistry. And it has a 72% audience score with 1,000 people submitting their opinion on the film on Rotten Tomatoes. So I feel like this just kind of tells you that it's not a film for everybody. On an $11 million budget, it went on to gross $18 million. But you can see right there, it's got the certified fresh. It's a philosophical movie. I feel like this movie could pair nicely with a psychological thriller that I recently reviewed, Jacob's Ladder, or maybe even Shutter Island. They watched a lot of films from the silent era and early talking era. They did deep dives into New England life in the 19th century, looking extensively at photographs and studying the culture of the New England communities of the time. So, to me, the Dafoe character, his whole vibe gives me like Pirates of the Caribbean pirate vibes. Pattinson has more of a New England kind of John F. Kennedy type of Hyannis accent, as it were. But I like the fact that they did it in black and white and a very square aspect ratio. Like, you could have this movie formatted for VHS and it would be fine because it's not a widescreen format. It's a square VHS style format. 7.4 out of 10 on IMDb. And I kept thinking of the masters of black and white film, like early Carol Reed movies, which I've reviewed a bunch of here on the channel. Obviously, John Ford. There's just a lot of film noir type of vibes in this with the way that they captured light. They were filming it with various Kodak real black and white film stocks on Panavision cameras with vintage Bosch and Lohm lenses. And the phrase that came to mind, Citizen Kane, and I've watched some reviews talking about Orson Welles and the reason that we like black and white film. The color is a distraction, and when you see films in black and white, you can focus on the quality of the work, which is what you see. 2 very stellar performances for these 2 actors here, Pattinson and Dafoe. Obviously, Dafoe. I need to review the Florida Project. I watched that recently. That's another great Dafoe film from recent times with a more modern director. The lighthouse structure and all the house and everything was built because they couldn't find an actual lighthouse for their shoots. So they fabricated the little house and all the lighthouse and the outbuildings, and it was shot in 35 days. There is a lot of dudes jerking off in this movie. This is not a kids movie. It's rated R. It wasn't like graphic though. There is some mermaid nudity and some violence, lots of epitaphs of the late 19th century ilk. As profane as there's some profanity, but definitely don't watch this movie with your kids. It's just a psychological thriller. Like I'm thinking, like I mentioned, the Shutter Island movie. What is really going on? You're questioning everything. I feel like he kind of played off of Kubrick a lot with the soundtrack. The soundtrack was awesome, composed by this guy Mark Corvin, and it did have a very string-driven soundtrack that reminded me of The Shining, and kind of had some pacing like The Shining with the horror and all this other stuff going on. I feel like they're pulling from a lot of other famed directors and the style, but it was masterfully shot, authentic for a period film. I feel like you could watch this with the 1950s Moby Dick movie, and that would also be a nice pairing with this. So this is going to be a rare 5 out of 5 for your old pal Corey. Not for everybody, but we want to thank the Stanislaus County Library System for having it to rent for free. Until next time, folks, check out black and white films. Check out films with serious acting chops. I don't know if I've ever reviewed Platoon on here. That's another great Defoe performance. Until next time, we'll see you then. Thanks for watching.